Today I'd like to continue look at the world of databases according to Azure, and today's database I'd like to cover is the Azure Database for MySQL. This is an open source platform database, and one of the things to keep in mind is it's intended for your MySQL workloads and the opportunity there. When you go to look to migrate, it's obviously an obvious migration target for any MySQL workload, and it gives you an opportunity to look at some of the open source technologies that are being used. So say you wanted to create a WordPress site, and you know the WordPress sites are fully supported by Azure websites and the related web services around that. So you do that, well, you can actually, a lot of people who are working with WordPress sites actually use MySQL databases. This is an opportunity, of course, to bring that workload right on Azure and the Azure Database for MySQL without a VM or any other type of system like that to host your database in this scenario. Drupal is also covered by that, as well as other data solutions that rely on MySQL as their back end. This is actually kind of what I talked about. It's one of the most common databases used for web applications and open source applications as you move forward. It is always, of course, interesting that Microsoft is supporting this as a platform as a service option. So if we look at the platform piece of this, so I start with purpose and how you'd use it. Next, talk about the platform, and the platform as a service is a fully managed, and it runs on Microsoft's relational database platform. So the same thing that powers Azure SQL Database powers Azure Database for MySQL. It is run on a Linux platform as well, just to be aware of that. So it's not like you have to go away from Linux if you love Linux. It's going to be a part of the Linux platform. It's also got built-in high availability and handles all your backups, just like like a first-class citizen in the Microsoft relational database platform. So keep that in mind as well. Because it's open source, one of the other things about the platform that you need to be aware of is that in the Microsoft world, they actually have what's called Azure IP Advantage, which protects you in cases where there's patent lawsuits or other things related to the open source technologies and how that gets pushed out. If you're in the open source world, this is a pretty common occurrence. Microsoft's actually giving you some guarantees in their platform to protect you and your customers if you choose to use use Azure Database for MySQL. Pennies. So purpose is for MySQL workloads. Platform, it's a platform as a service run on Microsoft's relational database platform with included protection from IP Advantage. And then pennies. How do we charge for it? Essentially, this is charged in a vCore pricing pattern. It runs in 3 basic pricing tiers: basic, general, and memory optimized. So depending on your workload, you can find what you're trying to do. Obviously, I would never recommend anybody running a production style workload on basic. You should start with general. Basic is great for trying it out and giving it a shot, keeping your costs low. One of the things to keep in mind is if you actually use read replicas, or you need additional backup storage, or you even want to do some advanced threat protection on your database, those will cost you a little extra onto the platform. So make sure you account for all those things you're looking at your MySQL options. So quick review. The purpose of the MySQL platform is obviously to put your MySQL workloads onto Azure and into the platform as a service platform, and take advantage of those skills or those technologies and use cases. And then finally, just understand that your pricing is vCore oriented, and there's tiers of pricing. So make sure you're matching your tier with the functionality and protection that come with that. If you have any other questions about moving or implementing your workload for MySQL on Azure, click the link below. We'd be happy to reach out and talk to you about that. We are always looking to do more work with our customers on the open source space as well as the traditional SQL Server space, so we look forward to this opportunity. Click the link below if you have any other questions. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.